Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm Gamesplaining Carson City. Now, Carson City is a slightly older game compared to a lot of the games I've been doing recently. It originally came out in 2015. It's a 2 to 6 player game. I am doing this because a big box has been released. It came out last year as a big box, which involves the main game, Carson City, plus these other expansions. I haven't yet played with that expansion stuff, the extra ideas, the extra boards and all that type of stuff, but I have played the game with the base box. So this will be just about the base idea of the game, the base game, and we'll go from there. This game is interesting. There's a lot of thought process to kind of get on top of, but once you understand what you're doing, it's actually not too hard. What I found reading the rules, it was like I looked at the rules, I read them through, I still don't know how to play the game. I had to actually play the game in order to understand the game. So I have played the game, and what I found was when I played it with my wife, there is within this game there's an idea of strength, and that's shown by guns and things so when you build a building on the board, you can, depending on what type of building you've built, get some guns. And that shows what your firepower is. Now, this uses that whole mechanism of a dice roll to work out any of those fighting things, which I'm not a hugest fan of, but it's a thing, so we just move along with it. But what I found playing against my wife, we actually avoided doing anything that would cause us to have to fight. Both of us were playing that way, and it's possible to play this entire game without touching that fighting mechanism whatsoever, and just playing it as you've already taken that one, okay, I will go for something else, rather than you've taken that one, I want that one, I will go for it as well, and only one of us is going to get it. That's an interesting balance on this game, because you're able to play it as a non-confrontational, I'm going to challenge and battle you all the way kind of game. There's the ability for you to just play it as a worker placement game, because this is realistically a worker placement game. There's a track of what's going to happen, and you put workers there, and when it gets to you, you can gain the thing. At the beginning of your turn, in turn order, you'll choose a character to be. That character on the bottom of it has a value. That value is the amount of money you can have at the end of the round. There are 4 rounds total. Having that alone is actually a really interesting idea. Each of those characters can do something differently, and so a lot of them will do something when you pick the tile up. So maybe you get to get a parcel of land, or you get some roads or something to that effect. Or you're going to be able to get things cheaper throughout the game. All those things come into the character, and that's a really good thing. Once you've got that, those characters have a little number at the top, and that tells you the play order for this round. So while you may have picked the character first, you may not be playing first. You may be playing last. And all this stuff is really interesting and intriguing. But then we place our guys, and you can either place them up on that top little track of things that are going to happen, or you can place them on the actual map. You need to buy land before you can build on land. Building on the land, the tile depends on the income of that tile, should I say, depends on what is happening around it and what else you've built, what other people have built, all that type of stuff. So there's a couple of tiles where you're going to turn them. So you place them. If they're at 0 value, if they're at 1 value, you turn them clockwise. You turn them again, turn them again. If you've run out of things, so you've turned them 3 times, you want to turn a 4th, you flip the tile over, and suddenly the values are going up and up and up. There's a couple of tiles that actually have a second tile that can replace the first tile if you need to up the value of them again. There's a huge amount of income available of doing it that way. So keeping track of that is really good. And that's really the game, is finding what's going to get me the most money in. But also understanding that there's points at the end of the game. So there's mountains all around the board, and buying land with mountains on it, not necessarily a bad idea. Buying land next to mountains, not a bad idea, because some things rely on being next to as many mountains as possible. I think that the game with my wife, she had a spot that had 5 mountains around it, so it was obvious she's going to build a mine there, because suddenly she's getting like 15 money income every round off that. But what I did, and she wasn't a fan of it, but turned around and did the same thing back to me simply because I'd done it, was I purchased one of those mountains, and suddenly instead of having 5 things around her, she now suddenly only has 4. And so she's going to get less income. Well, I can still gain the income from those mountains that I own, plus the non-owned mountains. It's a really interesting kind of space to sit in, of headspace of, what do I need to do to be able to do this? What do I need? What's going to get me the most points? All that type of stuff. It's a really, really interesting game to kind of get your head into. I am hoping to have a 6-player game of this tomorrow night at the games night that I go to. I hope, just to get the thing played more and to actually experience, because I think that playing with 6 players with that group, those gun challenges will actually come into play a lot more. There is no change on this game as a 2-player game up to a 6. There's no change. You play it exactly as it is, and that's really interesting. That there's been a few games like that recently that I've reviewed that don't have a shift of how we play the game. If you're playing with 2-player, I really like that. I really like a game that just works with 2 players as well as works with 6. I'm guessing that it is a very different game with a larger player count, simply because there's less stuff that is available, because there's more people going to be taking at that stuff. So you're going to need to challenge or have those duels in order to be able to get the stuff that you wish and that you want. There's some really interesting ideas in this game. There's some stable ideas that have become kind of, it's what we do. So that the whole idea of the number of guys that you have and sending them out to do the thing. So this worker placement idea is, it's become a standard way of play. I think it was fairly standard back then, but this game has its own interesting little mechanisms that will enable it to be slightly different to other games that you've played. And there's a different way of building up on things and building up in the areas. Look, I think I'll leave it there. Go ahead and watch my Gamesplained and Gamesplanation to get a feel for how this game plays. Please, if you have any comments, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplayed, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.